You're listening to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation.
Hello there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Bad Batch recaps here on For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. It is Andrew, Don, and Conor here today to talk about episode 4 of the Bad Batch season 2. It was titled Faster, and this one, for all the tech girlies out there, you had to be in your glory because this was a tech-centric episode, and it was pretty fun. Like I shared my thoughts, and I'll have my thoughts here, but it was. After how heavy the Solitary Clone was last week, it was kind of nice to get a little bit of a break. Although it does feel kind of weird, but again, I'll talk about that later. How are you guys doing today? I'm just trying to get through the day, if I'm being honest. But how are we
tired?
Doing?
Yeah, I'm a little tired. I'm doing all right, man.
I mean, Don almost didn't make it. He had some last minute unforeseen technical problems,
technical hitches, but I'm here. It's all good. Happy to be here for my first Bad Batch recap, which has been, it's been really good overall. Like, the 2-part opener was like really fun, kind of like, standard Bad Batch stuff, and then Solitary Clone comes out, and it's one of the best animated Star Wars episodes. So yeah, and like you said, after how heavy it was nice to kind of go to this and actually have something that was a bit more like breezy in a sense.
Yeah, it was a very easy watch, is what I will say, like for sure.
But still full of character.
Yeah. So as Don suggested beforehand, we're gonna start off before we get deep into the Bad Batch by just real quickly going over our big thoughts on the Mando season 3 trailer. I did put out a quick little recaps / breakdown of the trailer over there on the For the Republic YouTube page. So you can check that out. Basically talked about what we know that we can expect in the season so far and what we've seen from the marketing so far. But overall, I thought it was a really good trailer. I was expecting some more of the Bo-Katan stuff, but it was a really nice way of introducing or getting us back into the feel of, okay, this is Din and Grogu going on an adventure. It really emphasized the Mandalore stuff, which I really like. We got to see a bunch of Mandalorians in action. We got to see Sundari post A Night of 1,000 Tears, which is a little heartbreaking, but getting to see Mandalore in live action again is going to be awesome. And we got to see a bunch of the usual suspects for Mando. We got Pelimoto, we got Grief Karga, and then we got a droid bar, which that's all you got to say there is
love it.
Cantina.
Yeah,
no, it was a really fun trailer. I'm super excited for the show.
Yeah, I'd like saying basically that's my overall thoughts. It was just really fun. I kind of like that they're doing the season 2 thing again, where they're holding back obviously big surprises for the main episodes, but they're just showing enough to get you hyped. Like we got to see a gauntlet fighter in action with some TIE interceptors. That's really cool. It's cool to see Grogu sort of coming into his own really with his Force abilities some more, and the Jedi. There's going to be more Jedi flashbacks, and we're going to Coruscant. I mean, there seems to be debate about whether it's Hosnian Prime. I'm sticking with Coruscant because I think they're probably going to have Mando go there with Grogu to visit the Jedi Temple, which just it has me hyped because are we going to get?
It's probably going to prompt the flashback because we're definitely finding out who saved him.
Yeah.
Are we going to see it in Imperial Palace mode? Is it still going to be like that, or are they going to be changing it back? I'm really hyped about that. I mean, I also would love to see Hosnian Prime, so either option is just really, really cool.
My favorite thing is because Coruscant is such a beloved planet, but everyone's like, oh my god, Coruscant's back finally. I'm we literally just had it last month in Andor, but I got super excited when I saw it because this will be our first time seeing, if it is Coruscant, like you said, could be Hosnian Prime. But I got super excited because this is going to be the first time we see it in this post-Return of the Jedi setting. So I thought we were going to get that in Rise of Skywalker for sure. We didn't end up doing that. So to see it here, I'm super excited. And then we know that Dr. Pershing is there, which means Conor got to film scenes in Coruscant, which is pretty awesome. And I'm assuming that's where Gideon is going
Pre-detached
to be.
retina.
Yes, exactly. So
Pre-one-eyed night status.
Yes, you shot it before the dark times. But yeah, no, I'm hyped. March 1st, can't get here any sooner. And then that little scene of Grogu using the Force at the end was super fun. And then how could I forget the Anzellans? Are we gonna get Babu Frick in Mando season 3? Like,
that would be cool.
That would be so cool. Awesome.
Also, anything else featuring this bad boy is
exactly. All the
has
shots.
me excited.
I don't want to
refurbished N1.
I don't want to risk breaking mine again like I did during the Blue Shadow Virus episode, so I'm going to keep it over there on the shelf. But no, yeah, like all those shots, especially the one of them like in the rain, I loved, and then the one of like all the fireworks going off on Tatooine. It looks the most vibrant it's ever looked, and then same with Navarro. Like it looks straight up like Batu, like at this point, like the way that shown like how it's thriving now under Grief's rule is pretty awesome to me. So yeah, Mando season 3. Hopefully it's going to be kick ass. We're going to have our recaps here on the podcast feed. It's going to be interesting how we handle 2 shows at the same time, but we'll figure it out. So getting into Bad Batch. So like we mentioned, this was like I was like, okay, so this has to be like, what kind of episode are we getting this week? And then people were like, oh, it's going to be a tech racing episode. And I was like, are you sure? Like it doesn't like after the coding stuff, I'm like, we're going to do that. But like, again, I will be completely upfront with you guys because we had like the Discord going and Don and Conor were both like, oh my God, that episode was so fun. I loved it. And I was like, guys, I didn't like it that much. So and from what I've seen, it's been a little both. Like my timeline has been mostly positive, but I know there's a bit of negative feedback for it, which is why I feel bad that I'm gotta be the one guy going like, I didn't like this one, because I am like the Bad Batch guy here. I love this show. I was so hyped for it. I was like consistently like, this show was great last 2021. Can't believe it's almost 2 years ago.
So what didn't work for you?
The whole time I thought that it could have just like, I felt like they went the safe route. They went the very familiar territory with the story. It just felt very predictable. It felt like I've seen it before. And just like I mentioned on my Twitter, but it goes without saying, this like it was such a missed opportunity to not only have some pod racing elements, but also include Resistance characters, which is the racing show. And I did like the whole Riot Racing stuff. It's literally Star Wars Mario Kart, as people have joked. But like, it just felt like, oh, we're doing a sit episode right now, and like we're building. It looks like we're building towards something, which I like, because my main critique of the show has been they keep building towards the batch doing something more, and it just never is happening.
It's like taking forever. Which
it is. They're like stuck with Sid, and I feel like this should have been done and over with about episode 8 of last season, or like halfway through. But they're still there, and so to have an episode where I'm not going to call it filler, but to have an episode where like half the batch is off doing Galactic Uber Eats, so we don't even get Echo and Hunter. So it's been 2 episodes since they've even shown up, and then just have this one where they're just, okay, we're doing security. And then we eventually get some nice tech character development. So I see why the episode was needed. The whole time I was just like, this is fun, but I don't know. I just felt like I was like, okay, so Tech's going to race, he's going to win. And then what happened? Tech's going to race, Tech won. And we got some little nice things that like didn't make it like, oh man, I hated this or anything like that. Like, I will talk about them obviously, but I just wish I liked it more. This is all I'm saying. Because
that's fair.
Yeah, it's like, because
it's a different
like almost universally disliked, and you're like, okay, I didn't like that either. It's a different thing when like you see everyone you know liking it, except for Jake, which like, you know, Jake is noted for loving all Star Wars, but
Very noted.
very noted.
Very.
But when you see everyone in your timeline talking about how this was one of your favorite Bad Batch episodes, and you watch it and you're just like, yeah, I didn't like that much. It feels weird.
I mean,
So,
I
don't
get
know.
it because like some of this Sid's like we get some interesting stuff with Sid, like what she like pockets of like what she was like before.
Pockets are fermenting.
And I just lost my train of thought because of that goddamn quote. No, you're fine. I should have thought of a better word. No, but like we get some insight, like just a teeny little insight, teeny little insight. I can't speak today. Into what Sid's life was like pre like the Bad Batch, like coming into her viewpoint. And it's like, and then like it's that sort of push and pull of like, is she going to go back to those ways, or is she going to like rise above it and keep doing what she's doing and hopefully become a better person? You never know. And so like maybe something happens because there is that detail that Sid says, now I guess I owe you one. And it's like, bet you that's going to come back later.
We'll see. Because the episode at the end really sets it up as like, is Sid going to turn? Or are they gonna like?
Yeah,
I think she's gonna do a Lando. I can see it coming. I feel like the predictable thing would be that she does a Lando. She betrays the Bad Batch, but then she goes against her previous nature and helps them out. Which, you know, I feel like Sid is finally kind of getting thematically linked with the Batch and like the actual themes of the show. Because I don't hate Sid, but Sid has definitely been sort of the baggage that's been dragging the show down a bit. Because, like, as you said,
she's the quest giver.
Yeah, she is kind of the quest giver. But like, ever since the Batch, for me, Bad Batch's season 1 kind of stalled a little bit. From the moment they got to Ord Mantell and they just kind of settled into doing odd missions for Sid. Like that's, you know, the main episode that like stood out to me during that whole period from there to the finale was the one in which the Batch are initially not involved, and that was the Ryloth two-parter. But I kind of liked that this episode did finally give us some thematic linking between Sid and the Batch. You know, she clearly was like a more, you know, amoral character before, and the opening episodes did kind of hint quite heavily. Like she literally says, my operation's not going to be around forever. Like the Empire's going to eventually get here, which is very like heavy foreshadowing for what's going to happen. Like, you know, they may be doing these missions now, but clearly the status quo is going to be upended heavily by the end of the season, which is like long overdue. And so I agree with both of your points.
And speaking of foreshadowing, there was that little line that Tech says in the beginning where he says, nor is it a proper use of our skill set. And it's like, yeah, because it's like they haven't really done much with their skills, especially Tech. And then we get an episode where Tech's able to use his skill sets for something.
Yeah, especially
really interesting.
We saw in the premiere Echo start to be like, we should be doing way more. And now I feel like we're slowly seeing everyone else go in that direction. How do you guys feel about not every episode including every member this season?
I think that was actually going to be a point I was going to make. The thing I like the most about season 2 so far, even though we're only 4 episodes in, is the fact that like they're given time to like a member or two of the Batch to give them development, because that was kind of lacking in season 1.
Yeah, and I think it's because most of them were always clumped together. Yeah. Because it kind of reminds me of like an issue that like, you know, I'm going to bring Doctor Who into it, but it reminds me of an issue that happened with like the most recent era of the show where like, you know, usually the Doctor has companions. There were like 3 of them, or 2 or 3 of them for the whole of Jodie Whittaker's run. And that often did bog the story down a little bit because you often had an overstuffed cast. So you had to like keep giving other characters like these things to do. And that often meant shouting off exposition and stuff, which is like, no like disrespect, man. I really liked Jodie Whittaker's era of the show, but I feel like Bad Batch had a similar problem in season 1 where like characters like Tech and Echo would often get relegated to kind of exposition and the occasional comic relief, which, to be fair, was hilarious. I'm Echo. But I have to give season 2 major props. They've come out and immediately focused, like aside from the one Crosshair episode, both of the main Batch episodes have focused on Tech and Echo, the two characters who were neglected the most through season 1.
But the Crosshair episode was so important, and it's going to be so important throughout the season. So I will forgive them, because last week Conor and I brought up a good point. It's like, how do we feel about the fact that it seems like every like amazing episode of this show that handles the broader theme of the Imperial transition, the Batch are like not the main focus of it. And like, I feel like that might be an issue. The other thing that kind of bummed me out about this week's episode is the fact that the first 3 episodes were so heavy on that broader Imperial transition story, whether they had the Batch in it or not. And then it was just completely separated from that this week. No Empire, just Captain Gantu from Lilo and Stitch showing up and being like, I want my money. And
that was Ernie Hudson, wasn't it? From Ghostbusters.
It was, yeah. There was a couple of really great voice cameos in this one, including...
Sure. Is that the first time we've seen a Duotan in animation? Because I'm not sure, because obviously they're from The Force Awakens, like there's that big one, and then there's also like what is it, Pan-Eta, who's a Duotan in the High Republic?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really cool to like, they're really well suited to animation.
Is that what the Ninth Sister is too?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
She is a Duotan. Yes, yeah. I think that species is so well suited to animation because they're like big bruiser types.
I think it has to be, because I can't think of anything else it would have been in besides Resistance.
Yeah.
But no, like the character designs are really cool. We can go into that world that they go to because it's filled with life, and like I said, that's why I was like, racing, colorful planet. Yeager's got to show up, right? Like, we got to get some Resistance things here. And then it just never came. So I just felt like I set myself up for nothing. But I'm like, okay, it makes sense that we get something here. I would have... my favorite thing about this episode was the snarky announcer during the...
Yes!
Then we got Tech.
Tech?
That's his name? Tech?
Is that all he's got? Tech? It killed
me. The one
me.
thing that did bother me, though, because we saw like a bunch of the other Riot Racers, and like we got a bunch of cool aliens. We got like a red commando droid, which was awesome. Yeah. But then we got 2 protocol droids, and I feel like that's a missed opportunity. Like, you should like get something else in there. Like,
yeah, I could tell you could tell they were padding the cast out a bit, which is like a shame because, like you said, there was a commando droid. There was that one droid that was like a protocol droid with a battle droid head on, doing the thingy victory sign, and then you also had the main rival to Echo, who was I think he's the same species. Yeah, he's the same species as Cleek Holdfast from the Phantom Menace, which is just super cool. I like that they've at least snuck another like pod racing, because you don't see as many of the pod racing alien species there. Like, I kind of love to see more of them. Like, where's Dud Bolt's species or Team Topal? I can never say his last name. Just the guy
Gasgano.
With the like Gasgano, exactly. Like, just any of them really. Yeah.
Yeah.
There were 2 themes that I really liked that were tackled in this episode. The whole rejection of offense is the best defense, and Tech was just like, that's not technical. That's not entirely true, and how ingenuity, either human ingenuity or enhanced human ingenuity, clone ingenuity,
metahuman,
metahuman ingenuity is able to overcome technology and fear with the whole like, don't go through the tunnel on the left.
Yeah,
and Tech was like, give me a readout. Let's see what we got. Like, that was so cool. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So
I was like,
obviously,
the moment that they showed that off limits track, I was like, oh, you got to go there. You got to see what you got to see Tech do that. And the moment I realized it was like a jump, I was like, sure, okay, that's cool. I didn't expect that it to be like a thing where he just like drives up the ceiling. That was cool. That actually subverted my expectations in like a tiny way.
Literally turned into Mario Kart.
The whole race, like that was obviously the highlight of the episode for me, and the fact that the crowd started chanting Tech at the end. That was great. And just like
he has no emotion,
really
but
just
like you can tell that he
salute he gives. It's so Tech. But like the race for me, you can't tell me that Matt Miknovitz didn't watch the Dave Waddle 800-meter race. For context, and this will be quick, 1972 Olympic final 800 meters. 800 meters is 2 laps around a track because a track is 400 meters.
Yes.
Dave Waddle, an American. The gun goes off, the race starts. Dave Waddle is in last place, and this is a fast race, mind you. This is a fast field. He's in last place by the first lap, but then by like the first 200 meters of the second lap, he starts just inching his way through, starts picking guys off, starts going through, and by like the last 150 meters, this man wins the race. Like, you just got to see, like, you got to see it to believe it with that race. Because it's just like, he goes from last and he just starts just making his way to the front, getting through to the front of the pack. And he makes it. And that's the exact, and like, I'm pretty sure it was like kind of close between first and second with that race. Because it was exactly the same thing with the
Tech race.
Riot
Riot
Racer race.
Yeah.
Exact same thing.
He was
play
in
a
last
Riot
for a
Racer
bunch of
game.
It would be
Oh,
so
same.
fun.
Like,
I think
imagine if, like, at Celebration, they just announced Star Wars Riot Racer, and it's just like it's an all-platform thing. I would play the shit out of that.
I mean,
just
it's
looks
been
so much
since
fun.
what, like Racer Revenge, since we've had a racing game.
Yeah.
Like, come on,
And
Lucasfilm.
I loved like Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Like that was my shit. I played that so much, and it was so cool. It was like Wipeout or F-Zero. So like this is basically the Mario Kart to Episode 1 Pod Racers F-Zero, effectively.
Yeah. No, it would be such a cool
I would definitely
game.
play that game.
Oh yeah, and Kevin kind of score. Can we
Oh
just
my
mention
god.
Kevin? The techno is returned. Techno for tech.
Yes. Like, if this episode was a launching pad for a Riot Racing game, I take back everything I said. I'm like, no, this is a great idea. But we got introduced because they're on here, and this is another thing of like, is Sid like really this dumb? Because she's like, all right, I'm going to sponsor this droid, Teo, who is Ben Schwartz, first of all. And it took me a second because at first I was like, why does this sound like Pleakley from Lilo and Stitch? Like, did they get Kevin McDonald for this? I'm like, no, it's not him. And I'm like, oh my god, it's Ben Schwartz. And it took
Sonic.
He's back. Sonic, John
Gotta go
Ralphio, BB-8, one half of BB-8. I completely forgot about that until someone brought up that he helped put up the voice for BB-8.
So it's like a fitting role for him.
Yeah, exactly.
To like voice this snarky droid who just like wants to go fast. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was quite funny. I loved his like how Tech immediately was like, who the hell is this guy? Like, could not stand him. They had a lot of good back and forth, but what do you know? Like, he has his race, and the big gangsters destroy him, sabotage him. So Sid is captured, and basically Omega, being the pure wholesome little lad that she is like, all right, so we're gonna race again.
We're gonna strike a deal.
Yeah, we're gonna strike a deal. It's like, if you win, it's double the payment, and if we win, we get Sid back. Which again, it's like little subtle, like Omega isn't the focus here, but like just the little subtle things that like add to her character and show that like, if it does get to the point where Sid double crosses the batch, she's probably going to be the most affected, because the other members of the batch probably just see her as an employer, even though they have some loyalty to her. And the same can be said for Sid. Like, she probably just sees them as like her clients. Omega sees Sid as like pseudo family. And
That's a good point, actually.
when the time comes that we do see this, because it's like she is harboring fugitive clones. So like if what the Duotin is saying does come true and she does give them the boot or betray them or give them up to the Empire, that's going to be a big emotional hurdle for her, and it's going to be very nice for her character development. Which I do like how the fact that Omega is, aside from the solitary clone, she's the only one that showed up in every episode so far, because, well, except for the solitary clone, because if she is still the focus, and then like we'll have episodes where Tech and Wrecker aren't there, or we'll have episodes like this one where Hunter and Echo were delivering Uber Eats. It'll be different to just have Omega still have that core development.
Midnight Mei-Lu run. That's just like that title. Like, you know, you can have that one for free.
Someone said it's like, if next week's episode is just their perspective, I'll forgive it. But I'm like, do we really like? I don't know. But I thought it was a funny joke. But I am interested in seeing where that goes. I also really liked how they rebuilt Teo. We've got this snark with Tech, and then he's just immediately run over again.
Yeah,
so that was hilarious. I kind of like, you could feel it kind of coming when he just like turned back. I was like, is he gonna get hit or something? And then he just gets absolutely wiped out, and you have like that. I regret nothing. It's like that character could have been very annoying, like if it was a different performer. But I feel like Ben Schwartz is like really good at like kind of bringing that exuberance to like characters like that. Like that's why I think he's so good as like Sonic in the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, and like in other voice roles that he's done, like DuckTales. So yeah, he was just perfect casting for this role. It was like really brief, but yeah, I mean, I would play as Teo in a Riot Racer game.
I would not. I would just destroy Teo. I would just destroy Teo.
You just wipe him out.
Tech main.
Yeah, absolutely. Tech main.
Yeah.
Tech should be the Anakin of like Riot Racer. You know, that's your guy. Yeah,
exactly.
I liked the whole. Like, that's the thing. I agree with you, Andrew. I would have loved to see some pod racing stuff.
Like imagine if one of the racers was like Sebulba, or just someone random like Ben Quadraros. There's someone that would have been so cool.
Oh,
I feel like
my guy.
Thing.
My guy Ben Quadraros, just like
or Dud
stumbling through like Dud Bolt. Yeah, no, yeah, Dud Bolt is my man. Ben Quadraros is my side man. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Like it would have been cool. Like, because imagine just Tech pod racing. That would have been amazing. But
I feel like Tech could do it, like, because they have that whole thing. I want maybe the justification was, oh well, you know, like pod racing, because like they have a thing about humans, because Anakin is supposed to be the only human who can do pod racing. But I think Tech would be able to deal with it because of the speed. But like the whole reason Anakin could do it was because of he had the reflexes. Well, he had the Force, so he could, as Qui-Gon says, see things before they happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it would have been cool to see, but I did like the little world they set up.
It is great because to me at least it felt very Phantom Menace, but with just a new angle.
They had the announcing,
very Phantom Menace.
The announcing dings when just before the race starts, which I just thought was really cool. I felt like you said, the whole race was just like the highlight of the episode. It was really well shot, really well lit. The course was actually really fun. You know, they had. It also did remind me of episode 1 Racer, like particularly kind of like the Uvu 4 levels, you know, where you mostly go through like these like really tight tubes of like it was just a really cool sequence. Like it wasn't like mold breaking or anything, or like this like really different kind of story like the Solitary Clone, but I kind of like that. It kind of shows the flexibility of the Bad Batch as a season, that you can have this really dark, heavy, atmospheric story like the Solitary Clone that follows Crosshair, and then you can have this more breezy episode with Tech. But I actually do think this will wind up being important for Tech, because like at the end you kind of get a sense, like obviously he feels recognized there, but I almost wonder if this is like a light bulb moment for him that will kind of sway him towards what Echo is saying, because Echo's whole thing is that they should be doing more, that they're better, they have more of a purpose beyond just, you know, like doing odd mercenary missions for Sid. And here is Tech sort of starting to realize that, like, oh, I can actually apply my genius, my aptitude with technology for something other than war. Like this, I feel like this is kind of his character.
And he
arc,
he doesn't even use the weapons system either. That's
No.
the other thing.
That was
to
the
add
best
to that.
bit when he jumped the weapons section and he's like, "Oh, they were slowing me down," and then he just speeds up. It's like, it's so good.
Yeah.
Like, I would like if they do a sequel to this, because I could see Tech sort of doing a bit of Riot Racing on the side, like in this overall story. They have to absolutely call it more intense, like faster and more intense. Like you gotta do it. Come on.
This just sets up like an arc where just Tech gets like a big, like even more of an ego than he already has. It's like, no, I'm a Riot Racing superstar. Leaves
and
the
he races
batch to
against
pursue.
Jaeger.
That would be awesome. But you
That would,
mentioned the Phantom Menace stuff, and like even down to like the pre-ceremony that they have in the Phantom Menace. Like they have the exact same thing here with the announcer, and then you got Tech, like I said, which that and then Wrecker's like little remarks while Tech is racing like made the sequence for me. It's like, oh come on, like the whole time.
You gotta be in front. It's like, yes.
It's like, oh, you're still in last place. It was just great. But then it starts, and then Tech, you could say he feels the need for speed. Why is that playing super duper slow? I had it the whole time, and it didn't work. All right, cool, awesome, sweet. Awesome, sweet. Okay, moving on. Yeah, this was Bad Batch mixed with Top Gun, mixed with Mario Kart. Thank you, Kenny Loggins, for playing really slow for some reason. I hate this.
They need to smuggle the Rex Top Gun arc into somehow, like where
Bad Batch season 2.
Yeah, like where he races against like a, like just put Rex in a Y-wing, have him like fly over because he was supposed to fly over a Y-wing over a droid fighter or something, or like a separatist human pilot, and do a version of like flipping the bird like Maverick does in the original movie, which just do that. That would be awesome. Like we need to see what the Star Wars version of flipping the bird is like. That just
I want to know what it is.
Exactly.
People have said like they could just like repurpose those lost Clone Wars arcs into this show, because a lot of people have been saying you could do the Kashyyyk arc that way in this one and just change it up a little bit, which I really
we are going to Kashyyyk. We are going to Kashyyyk probably because of Gunji, so that's very possible.
Oh, I'm so excited about Gunji, man. Like
I'm so looking forward to seeing that little Wookiee again. Like I hope there's more of them there as well. Like Gunji is.
If I had to guess, I think I know which episode he's going to show up in, just based on on something I have happening in the future, which I'll mention at the end of the show.
But like again, we brought up the course and or the race and everything. Like from the course, the neon colors, Kevin Kiner's score. It reminded me of a mixture of, like we said, the pod racing scene and then also the speeder chase on Coruscant, Attack of the Clones. Like if they melded those two together, which are again, they're two of my favorite sequences in all of Star Wars. So of course this was going to be really awesome to see. But again, there was part of me, it's like, oh, it lasted for like you could just tell. Like as soon as the race began and he was in last, I was like, there's no suspense here, at least for me. At least for me. Like it is a weird complaint to have because like of course he's gonna win. But
there was no suspense. There was a little suspense for me, but even though I knew he was gonna win, I was like, I'm still enjoying the fuck out of it.
Yeah, because I'm like, they're not gonna end the episode with Sid like off on like another planet or on like unless that's like the start of an arc or anything. But like, I just had a feeling by the way the episode was going that like. That's what was going to happen, and it did, and it was still really fun to watch. But again, there was just it's just something about. I feel like they went the safe route for almost everything in this episode, which was unfortunate until we got to the end, which we will talk about. But the race was just so fun. Like I can't even deny it. It was a blast getting to see the whole track and just feel like a sequel to the pod racing, like I said, and then. Jet Venom, like such a unlikable, like such a dislikable name, like immediately, like just Jet Venom. So to see him just like lose, it was great to even like to someone that's not even using these weapons.
Yeah.
was awesome. They're slowing
Also,
me
like,
down.
Tech, the way Tech beats them as well, like just like sidestepping at the last minute because of his speed, that was just really cool. That was
It was a really nice finish to it. And then the Tech's line at the end is like, "Oh, Tech, you won." He's like, "Were there ever any doubts or whatever that line
you
was?"
sound surprised.
You sound surprised.
And I'm like, wow.
It's like this man.
Yeah,
this man's
because like
cocky, but he knows it, and I love it.
I think the thing I kind of identified the thing I like the most about Tech now as the character, and I think it's his adaptability because he is, despite seeming very rigid, because obviously there's a lot of people who have kind of seen a bit of the like neurodivergent coding with Tech, you know, given that he's very logical, he doesn't really kind of pick up on social cues. Like, you know, when Wanda Sykes' character was like flirting with him at the start, he was completely oblivious. He was, you know, she's like, "Hello, brown eyes," and he's like, "Well, we all have brown eyes." But he is surprisingly adaptable to a situation. Like when he had that sequence with the Serenian in the second episode, and he's presented with the idea, "Oh, we're not all separatists. We're Serenians." He's like, and then he immediately adjusts and fixes the thing, and actually like views that person as like a human being and first, and a separatist second. And he does the same here. Like the moment he kind of like he thinks about racing, he just kind of adjusts to the whole idea of the track. He plans out a strategy and everything, and you know. It's really cool. It's cool to see, especially with the kind of like, you know, as someone who is neurodivergent myself, to see that kind of character be actually shown to be adaptable. I feel like it kind of subverts the stereotype a little bit because like the Bad Batch are supposed to be kind of arch. That's the fun of them. They're all these kind of seemingly arch stereotypes, but I think the fun is in finding all of these little new angles because then you can kind of. That's how you kind of make them feel more distinct as characters, especially like because that's why everyone loves Crosshair, because Crosshair is cold and ruthless, but like that's actually putting that character in a position where he supports the evil side has been interesting to watch because you're like constantly wondering like why is he like this? Why is he continuing to support these people? And it's cool. I'm hoping we get more episodes like this though that peel the layers back a bit more and just reveal new sides to each of the characters.
Yeah, that would be really nice if we do get episodes this season that focus on each individual members of the batch. Because you could argue that like Spoils of War and Runes of War were like Echo's episodes. But like, and then this was Tex. And then Solitary Clones obviously was Crosshair. So if we get like Wrecker to have some, because I feel like Hunter, like he was like, it was either him or Omega for the main character of last season. So if we like split that up this season, I'll be very happy with it. Like I said, I just wish that there was a bit more of a connection to what we had seen so far in the last couple episodes and not just a complete on its own bottle episode type of scenario. But two things I want to bring up. First of all is AZ living his good life. As the waiter he always dreamed he could be at the beginning of the episode. I love that they still are showing that because I thought he'd be like a member of the group this year. Also, just real quick, has anyone checked on Gonki? Like, where's he been? He hasn't been in this season at all. Like, where is he?
That's a good point. I haven't seen him. Maybe in the Wrecker episode, it could be like a team up between him and Gonki. Because, you know, we know he likes to work out with that guy, you know, like use him as a weightlift, which is, I still think is so hilarious that he used Gonki as like a weightlift. Brilliant.
But I did love those scenes of like Tech looking out at the race and like trying to strategize it in his mind. And then you had Ben Schwartz being like, "Oh, human, you don't understand Riot Racing." And then he just takes it. And like, it was a really great moment for Tech as a character to have this race and to have this moment of like you said, just the realization that like, hey, like I have these skills, I can use them for something, and hopefully that leads to, so why are we still just being used as hired guns, as mercenaries, when we could be doing so much more to help out our brothers or whatever the heck they want to do there. And when they eventually get word that Cody has gone AWOL, it'll be very nice, and I hope that's what it's leading to here. That's another thing I would have loved if we had, because every episode so far has had one clone start to push away.
Yeah.
So we had Wilco in the first episode in the premiere, and then Cody last week. If say one of the people in the crowd or another one of the racers was a abandoned clone trooper, that would have been really cool.
I think I kind of identified why maybe the episode was a bit maybe a little didn't work for you as well, Andrew, because like I would say, yeah, I think if one thing I would say is that like if they had maybe had a more like given the more other races like more personality, like besides the two rivals like Jet Venom and the other guy, I think maybe that would have given it bigger stakes because you would have felt like there were more characters for Tech to overcome. But also, like you said, I think the fact that it didn't further the overall plot of the season a lot more, because like the solitary clone was like an aside seemingly, but it really furthered things because we saw what was happening with the Empire, and we saw the Empire encroaching on more worlds. We saw like massive development with Cody. We know that's going to come back around. You know, that's probably going to be why Rex gets in contact with the Batch again.
Yeah,
so like maybe like a stinger at the end,
but also character is story.
It is
exactly,
story,
but character is definitely story, and I do think that it is still furthering things, but just differently because it's setting up, like we said, that whole thing with Sid. Like we're clearly. I think we'll look back on this episode and be like, oh yeah, this was actually kind of setting up a lot more.
I hope so, because the two things I've loved the most about this season so far have been the Empire transition stuff, and then also the changing of perspectives with the Republic and the Separatists with the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So to have none of that was a little bit of a like, oh, that's a bummer. But like, and I'm fine with different stories and stuff. What it reminded me of, and I hope it doesn't turn into that, is because my two least favorite episodes of last season were the one on Raxus, which retroactively I like a lot more because it's tied into the Sereno stuff, and then also with the solitary clone. So I'm like, okay, now I see what they're going with there. Like that's set up a lot to get us from point A to point B of showing the Separatists in a different light. The other one I did not like at all was the Infested episode where they were like stuck in the mines and they had all those spiders and stuff.
Yeah,
and
I didn't like that at all.
Nothing. So I'm very worried. I'm very worried that this is going to be that type of scenario where we have this here and it just leads to nothing.
Yeah,
I'm hoping I'm wrong. And I think everything that you're saying about how important this is going to be for Tech's character and the stuff with Sid has me optimistic. But I'm just, I have fears and flashbacks of that again, because that's the only episode where I truly was like, no, that sucked. So like, I'm really hoping that it's not that. And I didn't think like, oh, I hated this. I was just like, it was fine. Not for me. Yeah. And that's totally fine. But again, I'm like
everything you said there.
The whole time I'm just watching it like everyone's loving this. What am I missing? Like what's happening here?
Oh, like I know what you mean.
but yeah, to talk about that Sid scene at the end, one, I was worried because you had Jet like turn his blaster. I'm like, is this episode gonna end with Sid dying? Like, are they gonna like do that with us?
Yeah, that would have been a twist.
That would have been crazy.
That would have been nuts.
It's just boom, Sid down. It's like, what just happened? Like that would have been like, that's one way to get the show moving again. Is to force them to not be mercenaries anymore because Sid is gone. Also, we got introduced to Wanda Sykes in the first episode. She just hasn't been there. Like, where's Wanda at? Where's
so
Space Wanda Sykes?
That she just showed up. I mean,
it's like, we got Wanda Booth. Have her record a line real quick. We'll show her. That's my question. Do you think the reason why Sid has stuck around so long is because Rhea Perlman is voicing her, and they just want to get as much out of her as they possibly can?
Maybe. I would say maybe. I think like based on all the foreshadowing, like yes, I said earlier that like she'll probably do a Lando and betray the Batch and then help them again, but she could also go the way of like for anyone who's played the game Star Wars Bounty Hunter, she's kind of similar in a lot of respects to like Jango Fett's like pal Rolls, who like she's a Toydarian. She gives him a lot of his bounty assignments, like bounties he can pick up and stuff. So like she's sort of like a confidant, this kind of like rough around the edges person. So she could kind of like, for anyone who's played that game, she could kind of go the same way as Rolls in terms of where her character ends up. That's
I'll
all
be
I'll
interested
say.
in seeing where it goes. I'm just like at some point I'm like where are we going with this? Like, is
Yeah,
this
like,
going to be the direction for the entire show? Which I don't think anyone thinks it's going to be. But
Yeah.
like, if we go like most of this season and they're still with Sid, I'm going to be
Yeah.
like, what is the direction here? And do they know what the direction is? Because I'm assuming we're going to get a season 3, but then again, I thought the same thing about Resistance. So I'm just curious, because if this does end up being the last season and it's the majority of what is spent there, I'm going to be a little disappointed. Thankfully, I don't think that's going to be the case.
No.
But because at least with Resistance, they like said ahead of time, like 2 days before season 2 started, they were like, oh yeah, by the way, this is the last season. And we haven't had any of that for Bad Batch yet, but like, it is interesting with a lot of these Disney Plus shows, like not knowing like if there's going to be a continuation afterwards with a lot of them. Like,
At least we're not Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. Where, oh hey, we got 3 seasons planned. Nope. Sorry.
We're just gonna
one.
just cancel it after one.
Yeah,
exactly.
But it's like a lot, like for some of the MCU shows, it's definitely been this. But like with Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi, we were both like, is this the end of the story, or are we going to get a second season? And for us to like, we still don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure Book of Boba Fett we're not going to, but like Kenobi, we still don't know.
Yeah.
And then with this, it's like, is this going to be the last one, or are they going to continue it? So
I get the
I'm
sense
not
that it
worried
won't
about.
be. I think we're getting at least one more season of Bad Batch for sure. Like, because I feel like there's another season's worth of story. Like once you move on from the whole Sid thing, I feel like they're building to, because Rex is clearly playing a role in it. We've got to find out. We've got to bridge Rex in this, like militantly fighting the Empire, to like Rex like chilling with his boys Gregor and Wolf on that ATTE. Just fishing. We've got to kind of we've got to bridge the gap there.
Exactly.
So I feel like there's another season's worth
the show
of story.
It's not going to end until we get fully into the full-on stormtrooper, with the Empires, and then the fact that there's still a bunch of clones there, and then they're just slowly integrating the TK troopers into it, makes me think that we're not done just yet. But I don't know. The fact that they haven't really said what the plan is, but I don't know. Like, that's just me being like, okay, where are we going here? Because I'm like, this Sid stuff is taking a bit. But if they are hitting towards some change here, I am pretty excited, because this is going to be interesting. Okay, I am looking at something on Wikipedia, and this is interesting, because it says that one of the Trandoshans in this episode was one of the ones from Wookiee Hunt that died. Oh. And now he's here alive.
It could just be a reused character model. They do that a lot with animation. Like I'm pretty sure I remember seeing that in I think the Raxus episode or the Ryloth. There are character models that get reused like that, and I feel like I feel like that makes sense.
Because I don't think he had a speaking role or anything. I think he was just in the crowd. So
then it's absolutely a reused character model.
We were wondering, because people always bring up they wouldn't just make these models for one scene, like we had when we were talking about Blue Shadow Virus this week. It's like, you really made that angel model for just that one scene.
Exactly.
One thing that I am so curious about is Clone Wars Season 7. We have that split-second scene where Maul is talking to holograms and Dryden Voss is there. And I'm like, they wouldn't just use that model for just that one scene, would they? So I am convinced at some point that Crimson Dawn's going to show up in this show, but I don't know when, because it's not making any sense in the narrative right now. So I'm like, or is it a different show? I don't know, but I'm like, that would be cool if they go from Sid to Crimson Dawn to fighting. But I'm like, maybe just for a 2-episode arc or something. I don't know, because I think they need to get out of the mercenary phase soon.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that it leads to more and more clone troopers rising up.
Yeah, because that's the best. That's been the best thing so far.
It's so great.
Exactly. Hopefully, Hauser shows up again. I'd like to see.
Yes.
I'm holding out
Please.
hope that dude's still alive.
That'd be cool.
That man and his beautiful hair. I need him back in my life.
Maybe like a Prison Break episode where like Rex and Cody in the batch help bust Hauser and some of his guys out of like Uvu 4 or something. Like I'd like an Uvu 4 Prison Break. I
would be
miss
great.
that asteroid.
You know what I'd
prison.
love? Because I was talking to Chloe and she was just finishing up Avatar: The Last Airbender this week for the first time.
Sweet. I
And
still haven't
she
need
got-
to finish season 1.
Oh, it's so good.
It is very good.
You're not going to know what I'm talking about here, but Connor, have you seen the show? Okay.
Twice.
Twice. Okay.
Nice.
So she got to the Boiling Rock like prison episodes for the first time. I want that in Star Wars. Give me that. Like Rex and Cody breaking them out of the Imperial prison would be so cool if like you had some of the batch there with them. But I am admittedly like I am liking the style they're going of. You don't need to have every character here every episode. And because they have 16 episodes per season, they're allowed to get away with that. If this had like the Mando 8-episode style, I'd be like, no, this can't happen. You just no.
We
But
saw how it worked out
It's
for Book of
animation.
Boba Fett. Yeah.
Animation's just built different.
it's built different. Exactly. It's a great way of wording it. But yeah, no, like it was a fun time. Everyone loved it. I just wish I liked it more than everyone, but
Yeah.
it was fine.
Not everything's gonna hit for everyone.
Exactly. Admittedly, I will
Exactly.
say, talking about it, I like it more now. There is a lot about this episode that I did really enjoy. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't have
The vibes
missing
were
piece.
off.
Yeah, it doesn't have the missing piece that I wish it did. But
Fair enough.
I do have to get things done soon. So I think we're going to wrap things up. Thank you for joining us for another installment of our Bad Batch recap. Another coveted installment of the Under an Hour Club. This is 2 this month. What is this show? This is completely different.
Changing.
I feel
exactly.
honored to be a
It's
part
changing.
of this.
Yes, exactly. We are built different in 2020.
Changing times, changing galaxy.
Times, exactly. We are transitioning from the Republic to the Empire. The Empire keeps their podcasts under an hour. So if you guys want to just let the people know where they can find you, Connor, start things off.
Sure. Instagram at ConmanJFO, Twitter and Hive, both at Depa Banana. I co-host at the Nerd Academy podcast with a guest who's shown up here, Jared the Dark Jedi, over at our Star Wars show called Knights of the Nerd Republic. We talk Star Wars there. Go check us out. sweditor.ig.com/fiction. I don't have any stories out yet, but we do have over 10 stories published on the fiction website. And they're all really great. Don has one. I have a few in development. One I can talk about is called The Knight's Welcome. It's coming out in March. It's set a few months after the events of Fallen Order, and I'll just read the synopsis. A fateful encounter with a mysterious being leads Cal Kestis to discover secrets of the Force he once thought impossible. And as I mentioned previously in this show, I will be on a Star Wars Explained live stream with my co-host Jared on February 1st, talking the
Awesome.
Bad Batch episode that comes out that day, which I think is called Tribe.
That is awesome.
So that's going to be
Alex
the
is the
Gunji
best.
episode.
That probably will be the Gunji episode.
You got to
Don't-
shout us out. Got to include For the Republic in the.
Oh, you know I will.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I chatted with Alex a little bit on on the live stream he did of Fallen Order. He's a cool dude.
No,
Yep.
I love Alex. They've been Alex and Molly have been my 2 favorite people in the community for years now. So that's super exciting that you got to have a little bit. That's twice now in the past year because you talked Kenobi on Nights,
Yep.
and now this, which is pretty sick. And then Jared is Jared. Obviously, we talked Bad Batch with him. Well, I did for the premiere, which was awesome. I wonder what he
still
thinks
need
of
to-
this episode because he hates tech. So I wonder if he was as miserable.
No.
I wonder if he was as miserable.
I'll have to
as
ask
watching
him.
this.
Yeah.
But Don, how about you?
Okay, so you can find me on Twitter at Donovan Mead. I tweet Star Wars, Marvel, Doctor Who, politics. You can also find me on Instagram, Donovan_McComish. It's been inactive, but I'm trying to get back into the habit of using it. Hive also at Donovan McComish, and like Conor and Andrew, you can find me on sweditor.ig.com. I've written several articles for the site, including some speculation piece about like where a Kenobi season 2 could go, in my opinion. And I've also written a story for SWEF, Scars of War. It follows a clone trooper named Blister who encounters a Jedi survivor of Order 66, the niece of Plo Koon, Shar Koon. It was a lot of fun to write. If you enjoy exploring the aftermath of Order 66, which it hasn't been to everyone's taste, I feel like, with the trailer, but for those who are interested in post Order 66 exploration, definitely check it out. I hope you get something from it. It was a blast to write, and Jake did some amazing artwork for it. I have to shout that out.
I just remembered something I forgot to plug because it's relevant to today's episode.
Oh, yes. Yes. I know what you're going to plug.
The fact, so for those who don't know, the writer of this episode was Matt Miknovitz. Yeah. I did an interview with the guy like 2 years ago, year and a half ago. It's on the site. I did an interview with him, talked about Fallen Order. Check that out.
Gotcha.
It's a really good interview. Oh, and like last thing to shout out, I am also, like Conor, I'm a question writer for Star Wars Epic Confrontations, which is like a head-to-head trivia thing.
I think they dropped an episode today.
We just dropped an episode today. It was like a Team Battle, Big Chungus, which is
Baggers
Alden
and
Diaz.
Smash. And,
Alden Diaz.
Don contributed to the demise of one of those teams.
It was so good. Like, yeah,
I'm gonna watch that later tonight when I get back home.
Yeah,
it was gonna be fun.
It was a fun time.
As for myself, you can find me on all socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Starlight Andrew. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at For the Repub Pod, and on Instagram and TikTok at For the Republic Pod. I've been posting a lot of clips lately, so get those going. You can follow us on YouTube, For the Republic Podcast. Like I said, we had our first episode back in a while of our Clone Wars recaps, talking about the Blue Shadow virus, which is another one of my favorite ones we've done. Yeah. And we will be back next week, assuming Don's laptop doesn't get pissed on again, to talk about the Ryloth arc. But if not, you'll see us back here next week to talk about the Bad Batch once more. So until then, see you guys later, and may the Force be with you always.